Hello, I'm Tikki Nikki, and this is going to be a bit of a different video. I was hanging out and playing Cyberpunk 2077 when a thought occurred to me that we're headed pretty much into this game as a future. But not the cool part. Now hear me out. We currently live in an iteration of our reality where we, as a whole, are perfectly okay with being lied to. Now maybe not okay with it, but we've evolved past the concept of accountability. Now, this isn't simply pointing out a handful of people, but practically every market and industry on the planet has stopped with the subtlety and now are just perfectly comfortable lying and scamming, and no one seems to care. From, politicians no longer pretending to be subtle, to crypto bros stealing millions and the SEC not punishing them, to actual medical publishing companies selling the ability to publish fake research into their journals. I believe history books are going to refer to the time period between, say, 2015 till whenever this ends as the era of lies. Now let's start with the most controversial, politics. Now, lying in politics is nothing new.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. These allegations are false.
But nowadays, politicians just don't care.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
Today's politicians now will not only feel empowered to lie, but also lack that fear that their career could be ended just from being called out. Now I'm starting with politics because this is what I believe led to our era of lies. Whether you support him or not, Trump was the one who paved the way for this era, in my opinion.
They're eating the dog.
Trump has, on many occasions, either regurgitated half-truths or just flat-out lied, and has never faced consequences or loss of followers for it. In fact, many people just say he's speaking the truth, and he also has one of the highest lie scores on PolitiFact. But this is a larger problem. Even his future VP makes shit up and, when confronted, just defers blame to others.
Senator officials, the mayor, other local officials have said there's just no evidence of what you're saying, that it's baseless, those claims. Can't you just make your argument about immigration without making those claims, Senator? Why not just make an argument about immigration? Why do you have to delve into repeating these baseless claims that, again, Senator, have been repeated by neo-Nazis?
Kristen, I hear you saying that they're baseless, but I'm not repeating them because I invented them out of thin air. I'm repeating them because my constituents are saying these things are happening.
But there's no evidence.
The more irritating thing about that last clip is not only did he defer blame, but the burden of proof is supposed to lie with the one who makes the statement, and his proof is someone else saying it. He didn't need actual empirical proof. Do you remember in high school when you knew that one kid who had a girlfriend, but you probably wouldn't know her because she goes to a different school? That clip is this, but from a leader of a free world. But it's not just the right-wing people. Biden has his own lies, including saying he was arrested during the civil rights movement, which is completely absurd to say when criminal records are public and can be searched online. And also because he's not Bernie. God, that's so cool. So moving adjacent to politicians is the news. Now, trust in the news has continued to fall. And it isn't out of nowhere. I remember seeing clips after January 6th where, even to this day, it either gets denied or downplayed. Even worse, watch this Fox News clip from Jesse Walters.
Fox News alert, the Justice Department just released the bombshell report that we've been waiting for. What actually happened on January 6th? The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays to spy for them. Of the 26 confidential human sources who were in D.C. on Jan 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. So more than a dozen FBI spies participated in the so-called insurrection. A bunch of them broke into the Capitol. Their own Inspector General says this is what happened.
According to Jesse and Fox News, the Department of Justice released a report claiming the FBI admitted to having spies. Like actual spies within the violent insurrectionists. Now, taken at face value, that is indeed scary, and many Americans don't look further than that. But a few seconds on Google led me to the actual DOJ report on the DOJ website. Now, these are all publicly available, and I'll link all my sources below. But pulling up the doc and searching for the term undercover FBI immediately took me to this sentence. no undercover FBI employees at protests or at the Capitol on January 6th, and that they had no evidence or testimony. Clearly, the FBI didn't admit shit. But Tikki, Jesse said FBI Confidential Human Services, or CHS, you dumb Arizona hick, I hear you say? Well, right below the undercover employee section shows what Jesse was talking about, and says that there were only 3 CHSs that were tasked by the FBI to be there, and that was in order to report on specific domestic terrorism case subjects. The other attended on their own volition. So not only were they not spies, but they were sent to report potential terrorism and not be plants to make Republicans look bad. And that's not even all of Fox's lies. They literally settled a $787 million settlement after Rupert Murdoch admitted to knowingly spew election denial lies that are still prevalent today, except for when Trump won his second term and suddenly there was no cheating involved. And again, this isn't only a right-wing thing. CNN once shared this story, and with the quote, "Don't bring the violence here," by Sherelle Smith, the sister of a victim of police violence. The thing is, despite later claiming it was shorthand, the quote was taken completely out of context. Sherelle, rightfully hurt and angry, actually said this.
"Oh, everything! Tell his mama y'all sorry for her loss. Burning down shit ain't gonna help nothing. Y'all burning down shit we need in our community. Take that shit to the suburbs. Burn that shit down."
So it's no wonder public trust with the media has eroded and people have gone to podcasts. But the era of lies isn't simply a Democrat versus Republican, it's bled into every corner of our life. I don't think it will be very shocking, but many of the most influential people are so full of shit you'd think they were constipated.
During the height of cryptomania, Logan promoted Dink Doink, a meme crypto coin that he acted like wasn't his project.
Dink Doink is so much more than a meme coin, it's a multimedia coin. Cartoon meets crypto. It's the blockchain, baby, in cartoon, fun, comedy format.
It quickly lost all value. Then after seeing his mentor Gary Vee make tens of millions of dollars on kids' doodles, he created CryptoZoo, a crypto game that didn't work. Even worse, Logan left investors in the dark, some of them having spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
$500,000 in CryptoZoo.
I thought it was a safe place having a guy like that identified, like Logan Paul being the head of the project.
Next, he launched his latest money grab, 99 Originals.
The only thing I care about.
Each picture is an NFT.
It all ties to my entire life.
And this one looks like it's gonna be the same story. He will pretend this is his passion until another shinier project comes along.
Influencers, who arguably have a larger influence over the youth than politicians or news media, also have no qualms about blatantly ripping people off and lying about it. One major one from the past few years was the plagiarism of Illuminati. Her stupidity was exposed by H. Bomber Guy as well as many others and became the rare exception to this immunity from accountability I've been seeing.
Animals, when we know the exact date, confuses SeaWorld with Sealand, a different park, and when describing an injury suffered by trainer Ken Peters, refers to him as Peter.
Even though Don was the first trainer to die, another trainer, Peter, was attacked 4 years beforehand in 2006.
Now there were tons of these types of influencer who are called out but then quickly forgotten and left to walk our mortal plane. But more dangerously were the crypto bros, because not only were they lying to the masses, but they were scamming them for millions of dollars, and in rare cases, billions. Sam Bankman-Fried comes to mind. He's a poster boy for this argument. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into him as there's countless videos that could describe it much better than I can, but he had celebrities like Tom Brady and Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, on his corner and ended up making billions in one of the largest scams in American history. And again, this capture was an exception and likely only because of the amount. Meanwhile, people have made entire careers exposing other influencers who continue to walk free after scamming millions from their audiences. Put simply, if an influencer shows crypto, it will likely fail. Now let's move on to a completely different industry, the completely harmless lies of the medical field. Now we'll start with the most divisive one, which is the case of Andrew Wakefield. He's the guy who published the research paper linking vaccines to autism. Despite immediately being refuted with peer-reviewed studies stating his only evidence that both events happened in early childhood, the claim took off like an unvaccinated disease, and it's still touted to this day despite Mr. Wakefield losing his medical license. Now, if it ended there, we would probably write them off as kooks, but his lie led to an even more dangerous one. The lies about the COVID vaccine. Now, some people didn't believe the virus even existed, but some of those who did didn't trust the vaccine. One loud speaker of this was the one-time presidential wannabe Herman Cain, who consistently claimed the virus wasn't that bad. before actually passing from the disease. Now, in the same vein as Andrew's crooked paper, the medical publishing industry is just as suspect as Andrew's beliefs. Medical research papers from college students and practicing scientists and doctors, they're published into what's called a journal. Now, the journals are then used to recreate studies, cite peer-reviewed sources for your research, and ultimately have a database of previous research so that we can continually expand our knowledge, not just consistently reinvent the medical wheel. Now, there are quite a few different publishers of these journals, but lately they've been facing a ton of backlash. Access to these archives remains an unobtainable threshold for many people, and as such, has far-reaching ramifications for scientific progress. It says 40 editors who resigned from their publisher, Neuroimage, which is a leading publication concerning brain imaging. Well, what access is that? The fact that to publish your potential life-saving research, you have to pay them $3,450 in what's called an article processing charge, or an APC. Now, the thing is, if you don't have the money, you're not getting published. And if you do have the money, you're able to publish your research, even if it lacks credibility and, research. Now think about that for a second. You could be diagnosed and prescribed medication for an illness or disease that you don't have simply because some rich person in another country paid to get published and was published without any fact-checking done. That's fucking terrifying. And speaking of publishing, you can lie your way into the bestsellers list. Amazon has been fighting a losing fight to block AI books. If you have trouble figuring out how to start lying about being an author, check out these sketchy and likely not fully accurate YouTube videos posted practically every day about how to do it. There's markets being created just to help people with lying, as well as some to help combat that lying. That's how bad it's gotten. Look, I'm not some philosopher or scholar. I'm some dumbass on YouTube worried about where we're headed. I wanted to end this video with some sort of John Oliver type, what can we do to help this info? But if I'm being honest, I don't know. And that scares me. We have cops treating random murderers like the Joker, and CEOs reaching wealth never thought imaginable. And we've normalized lying to a point where we don't even know what the truth is. What I do know is that if we continue to be as ignorant as we are, the wealthy and powerful will weaponize that ignorance to exploit everyone, and one day, we truly will be living in cyberpunk.